So I have actually had 5 book hauls so far this year, and the last book haul I posted was at the end of May. And since the end of May, I have acquired about 28 new books. And today we're gonna go over all those books and do a book haul. Hi everyone, I'm Rhonda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are brand new. So as I mentioned, I have another book haul. I've acquired 28 new books. I personally love going to bookstores. I love picking out new books. I love trying to find new authors or just books I haven't heard of. And it's a hobby. If you read, then maybe book buying is a hobby of yours as well. So a lot of these books I bought are from gift cards that I have saved up. I have a pretty big stack from Barnes & Noble. I did have $50 in rewards. So a big chunk of these books were spent using those rewards. So yeah, I spent money, but not as much as you probably think. And we're just going to get right into it. As I mentioned, I have books from Barnes & Noble. I have some books from Target and Amazon. And then I also have some books from Book Outlet because I think they're still having their sale where all of their fiction books, whether they are hardback books or paperback, they are all $5.99, and I always try and take advantage of those sales when they have them. I also have my Book of the Month box, and then I also got my very first physical ARC from a publisher, and I am so excited about that. And I'll get to that one in just a minute. I do want to start first with my Book of the Month box for the month of June. Now this video is not sponsored, but I do have a coupon code in case you are interested or have always been interested in joining Book of the Month, where you can get your first book for $5, which is a pretty good deal. So for the month of June, I did pick out 2 books this month from Book of the Month. The first one is The Other Side of Now by Paige Harbison. And this is a book, the reason why I picked it out because it was really speaking my love language of, it's not really time travel, but it's a book about alternate realities where our female main character, she is, I think, a famous actress or something, where she's on this TV show, and on the eve of her 30th birthday she has a nervous breakdown, and in order to kind of help herself get better, she goes on a trip to Ireland, and when she gets there everyone already knows her. So she is actually in an alternate reality where instead of becoming an actress, she moves to Ireland. So that is what this one is about, and again, it's just a plot that is something that I typically do enjoy with alternate realities or time travel, and I think this is one I'm going to really enjoy. And then the last book I got from Book of the Month is Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This is her newest release, and I did read one other book by her. I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I really loved it. It was one of my favorite books. So I definitely wanted to pick up her newest release, and I think this is a book that's told through 3 POVs, through multiple timelines, and it involves vampires. So I think this one, I don't know a ton about this book. I haven't actually heard a lot about it, but I think this is going to be a book about female empowerment and maybe a little bit of feminine rage. And like I said, I really enjoyed the writing in Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, so I think this is going to be one that I'm really going to enjoy. I am a little bit intimidated because this book is over 500 pages. She's pretty thick, so we'll see. The next book I want to talk about is a book I did not buy. It is actually a physical ARC book that I got from HarperCollins, and it is actually the very first ARC book I have ever gotten, and I am so excited about it. My family and I went on vacation during the first week of June. We went to Disney World, and when I got home, I had this box, and I immediately opened it because I was like, I didn't order anything, so I'm not sure what this is, and inside was this book. I don't know if you can see the cover, but it has this really pretty I'm not sure if it's a watercolor, but it has really pretty artwork of a little suburb neighborhood. But this book is called In the Family Way by Lainey Katz Becker, and this book has already been released. I believe it came out in the beginning of June, and it says, set in the 1960s before Roe v. Wade, a poignant and powerful novel in the vein of Lessons in Chemistry and Big Little Lies about the friendship between a group of suburban housewives who help one another navigate through their personal challenges, marriages, and their pregnancies, both wanted and unwanted. So I think this is going to be a book about obviously friendships and women lifting each other up, and obviously it's going to have some hard-hitting topics that's going to cover, like abortion and women's health. And this is one that I think I would probably enjoy. And this is on the shorter side. I think it's under 300 pages. And I think this is kind of like a general fiction or a women's fiction, maybe even a lit fic. I'm not sure. But this is, yeah, this was my very first physical ARC, and I'm very excited to read it. So thank you to HarperCollins for sending this to me. I really appreciate it. If the angle is a little weird and different, that's because I had to get up and help my dogs. We have a storm coming through, and it was thundering a little bit. And one of my dogs really does not like thunder, and she gets nervous. So I had to help her get into my daughter's room so she can go in her little safe space. But anyway, moving on to my next stack of books, and these are the books I got from Book Outlet. And as I mentioned, I got these books when they were having their $5.99 fiction sale. And if you are interested in buying something from Book Outlet, I do have a coupon code down in the description where you can get $5 off of your order. So feel free to take advantage of that coupon. But the first book I got is Everyone on This Train is a Subject by Benjamin Stevenson. I actually read his other book called Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. I read that this month. It was on my TBR for the month, and I did enjoy it. And so I went ahead and picked up this one because it's following the same male main character in that book, and it's just another murder mystery whodunit type scenario. So I think I'll enjoy this one too. Can you hear that? Oh, we have a pretty wicked storm coming, I think. Hopefully I can get through this video. But the next book I want to talk about is Seven Summers by Paige Toon. And I feel like this is a book that people were talking a lot about last summer. And I went ahead and grabbed it. I haven't read anything by Paige Toon. I do have another book on my TBR that she wrote that I do want to get to this summer. But I think this is about two people who, you know, sparks fly and they are drawn to each other. And then something happens to where they can't be together. But they try to spend every summer for the next 6 years together if they're still single. And I think that's just what this is about. I don't know a ton about it, but I've heard it's incredibly emotional. And it is, I think, just going to be a good emotional summary book to read this summer. Hopefully I can get to it. And then another summary book is A Little Ray of Sunshine by Kristen Higgins. I did 2 videos where I talked about all of my summer recommendation books. The first one I did was for romances and general fiction. And then the second video was for mystery and thrillers. And in both of them, I asked you guys to give me your summer recs. And boy, did you guys come through. Some of these books I bought were based off of your recommendations. But one of you said that Kristen Higgins has a couple of books that you think I would like. And one of them is A Little Ray of Sunshine. And that's one I picked up because this was the only one they had on that book sale. But I think this is about a woman who's gave her son up for adoption, and he comes back and wants to have a life with her. So you said that this is very emotional and you wish me luck getting through it. So I think this is just going to be another emotional, hard-hitting book for me to read this summer. Next up is Recipe for a Charmed Life by Rachel Linden. And I'm just noticing this, but it has an autograph sticker. Is this autographed? Oh my gosh, it is. Look at that. Huh. I never knew that Book Outlet carried autographed books too, so that's cool. So in case you don't know, Book Outlet, they get the overstock from stores. As you can see, some of these books came from Target. I've gotten books that come from Walmart. Who knows where they come from, but they buy all of the overstock and then they resell them through their online outlet. But with this one, I have read one other book by Rachel Linden. I read The Magic of Lemon Drop Pie, and you guys have heard me go on and on about how good that book is. And if you haven't read it, please do. It's really good. But she's the same author, and this is, I think, her second book. And I can't read it. I need my glasses. Hold on. Oh, so much better. Okay. So the back says, after a day of unrivaled disappointments, a promising young chef finds every bite of food suddenly tastes bitter. To save her career, she travels to the Pacific Northwest to reconnect with her estranged mom and discovers a family legacy she never suspected. So I think with this one, just like with Lemon Drop Pie, I think this is going to be a little bit of a women's fiction with a side plot of romance. I think it's also probably going to have a little bit of depth, just like the other book that I enjoyed, but I can't wait to read this one. This author does have a new book coming out, I think in September. I did get approved for a digital copy art, and I can't wait to read that one, but I do want to read this one before I get to her newest book. So another book to add to my summer TBR. And then another summer read. Apparently I didn't think I had enough books to read this summer because I bought a ton, and spoiler alert, I have so many books I need to get to this summer that I'm feeling actually a little overwhelmed. But the next book I got is Until Next Summer by Allie Brady. And this says, two former best friends each find love at an adults-only summer camp. And this contemporary romance that proves once a camp person, always a camp person. And that's why I got this book. I've never been to summer camp at all. Like when I was a kid, we didn't have the money to do that. And I thought, how fun would it be to go to summer camp as an adult? So I think this is just going to be a fun, good time. And then changing courses just a little bit, I did get a mystery thriller called The Night Swim by Megan Golden. I did read one other book by her, and what was it called? I don't remember the name of it, but it was just okay. But I've heard this one is really good. I know Heather at Bookables really enjoys this book, and she's always recommending this to read during the summertime. So I think this will be a good way to mix up some of these summery romances and read something a little bit darker. Okay, and the last book I got from a book outlet is a time travel book called A Rip Through Time by Kelly Armstrong. I've had my eye on this book for a couple of years now, and this one is about a woman who, this is set in 2019, and she is attacked and loses consciousness, and she wakes up. It is 1869, and she is in the body of a housemaid named Catriona Mitchell in 1869. So that is what this is about. I love time travel. You guys know I love time travel books or anything of that nature. So I think this is going to be something I'm really going to enjoy. And I like that it's definitely more of like a mystery thriller and trying to solve what's going on, what happened, and how to get back to her own time. So that is the last book from Book Outlet. And then I got several books from Target. Okay, so Target, my goodness, they have an entire section for summer beachy reads, and they got me. They get me every time. But the first book I got is What Not to Do on Vacation by Rachel McGee. And honestly, I don't remember. I mean, it has a pretty cool cover. It's a woman on the beach reading. And I don't remember why I got this one. It says, three sisters, two summer romances, and one big secret collide in this modern taking of Shakespeare's The Taming of the Shrew. That's why I got it. I got it because it mentioned The Taming of the Shrew. And one of my favorite rom-coms is 10 Things I Hate About You, which is a modern retelling of The Taming of the Shrew. And I felt like this was going to be a little bit like that. And I do remember looking this up on Goodreads, and it had some pretty good reviews. So I have this one. And then the next three books are books that I've already read. They are new releases. The first one is It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. I've already reviewed this book, and you guys know that I really love this. Annabelle Monaghan cannot write a bad book. She does not have it in her. So if you haven't read her newest release, definitely go read that one. I also picked up Never Been Shipped by Alicia Thompson, and I attempted to read this one this month and could not get through it. I DNF'd it almost halfway through, and it just wasn't for me. I think this is a case of I'm too old for it. But if you're interested in musicians who are working on a cruise ship, then you might enjoy this. And then the last book I got is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. This is her newest release. I'm not sure if you can see it. I'm doing it at an angle so that you can see the colors because the lighting is kind of washing out the cover. But I really enjoyed this one. This is another book about musicians, and this has magical realism, as do all Ashley Poston books, and this was a good one. I would recommend this. So those are the books I got from Target. And then I got some books from Amazon, and a few of these books, or actually two of these books, I bought them because you recommended them. One of them is the first book in a series called Summer in the Bluffs by Sunny Hostin. And the back says, one life-changing summer on exclusive Martha's Vineyard for women you'll never forget. I love books about friendship, and the person who recommended this, I think she's read this entire series. I want to say there's 3 books in the series, and she's loved all of them, and she thinks I would enjoy this too. So I'm going to give it a chance. Like I said, I love books about friendships and women, and I think this is really going to deliver on that. And then the other book is All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. The same person who recommended Summer in the Bluffs recommended this one. She said that this was just a good recommendation for a summer thriller. I actually had this in my hands the day before she recommended this book to purchase at Barnes & Noble, but already had like a huge stack of books. So I put it back. But this is about a former FBI agent who has been elected to become the first Black sheriff in this small town. And I think there's a serial killer. This author has actually been on my radar for a while. I've heard his books are so good. And this book is actually on my July TBR. I did my prompt jar picks, my July TBR video, and that's already posted. So go check that out if you haven't already. And this is one of the books that I picked out, and I cannot wait to get to it. And then another book I got from Amazon is a book I have already read. I read it this month, and that is called Everything's Coming Up Rosy by Courtney Walsh. I was surprised how much I enjoy this. I have read Courtney Walsh before. I read a couple of her holiday romances, and they were really cute. But Courtney Walsh writes closed-door, clean romances. There's no cussing. There's no spice. They're just really wholesome, sweet romances, and this hit the spot. It was so funny. So if you're looking for a good summer romance, pick this up. This is about a woman who is hired to become the director of this theater, and she thinks it's just this little small town theater, but it's a theater in a retirement community, and she's not aware of that when she's hired. So it was just really cute and funny, and I would recommend you read this. And then finally, I got The Rivaled Crown by Holly Renee. This is the last book in her Veiled Kingdom series. I read the first book called The Veiled Kingdom, and I really enjoyed it. It was definitely more of a romance set in the fantasy world. There was not a ton of world building, but I was fine with that. And then the second book came out last year, and I think that one was called, what is that called? The Hunted Heir. I did not enjoy that one as much, but I'm hoping that this one is going to be a solid conclusion to that series, and it's a little bit thick. How many pages is this? Yeah, it's almost 500 pages, so this is going to take a little bit to get through. I don't know if you can hear this thunder, but it's so bad. Anyway, yeah, this is like I said, this is the last and final book in that series, and the entire series is on KU in case you want to read it on your Kindle. The last stack of books I have are all the books I got from Barnes & Noble. Like I said, I had quite a few rewards to use. I was saving it up, and I had like $50 worth of rewards. So these books are what I bought with those rewards. Let's start with the first book, and that is Julie Tudor is Not a Psychopath by Jennifer Holditch. Is it Holditch or Holdick? I'm not sure. First, let's look at the cover. That just looks super fun. But this is about a woman. She's 49 years old, and she has her life together. She's just very meticulous about her home, and she has a good career. Well, she's also in love with this younger man. I think he's, what is it, 25. Yeah, he's 25 years old, and she thinks he is the love of her life. The problem is he is interested in somebody else. So it says, but Julie has found herself in a similar situation before, and if there's one thing Julie knows, it's how to get rid of the competition. After all, what's a little murder in the name of true love? And one of the reasons why I picked it up is because Joanna Wallace blurbed on the front and the back. She says, a wickedly funny and darkly compelling debut, a masterful blend of humor and suspense that kept me hooked from start to finish. So because she said that, I think this is going to be like a dark comedy, and it's just going to be a fun, good time. And in case you don't know, Joanna Wallace wrote You'd Look Better as a Ghost. I read that last year, I think last spring, and it was cute. I liked it, didn't love it, but I loved the dark comedy in that book, so I really think I'm going to enjoy this one. And then the next three books I got are more summary books. The first one is Summers at the Saint by Mary Kay Andrews, and I've been seeing Mary Kay Andrews books forever. Her books are everywhere, but I went ahead and picked this one up because it says, welcome to St. Cecilia, a landmark hotel on the coast of Georgia where traditions run deep and scandals run even deeper. And I think with her books, they're kind of like women's fiction with a subplot of romance. One of the blurbs on the back says, Andrews perfectly balances the second chance romance with a twisty mystery against a beachy backdrop that will please any armchair traveler. So I just think this is going to be a really cute book about friendships, and like I said, there's going to be a romance, and I've never read anything from this author, so maybe I'll find a new favorite. We'll see. And then the next book I got is Josie Silver's newest release called Slow Burn Summer, and I always thought she wrote like holiday romances, so I'm not sure if this is her first non-holiday contemporary romance, but the back just says she's playing the part of romance author, but has she found her own real life story? So reading the back real quick, this is about Charlie and Kate, and they are both divorced, and Charlie has inherited, I guess, a publishing business. I'm not sure. And one of the authors who has written a Take Your Breath Away romance novel, doesn't really want to have anything to do with going out and doing all the publicity. She doesn't want people to know she wrote this. So he ends up hiring Kate to play the part of this author. So I think that's what this book is about. That sounds like a good, fun time. So I have one other book by this author on my physical TBR to read this holiday season. I have One Day in December, and I've heard amazing things about that one. So I can't wait to read this one. Sounds cute. And then the last summary book I bought is Just Beachy by Wendy Wax. This is her newest release. She is a new author for me. So this one was strictly a cover by, and based off the title, I mean, Just Beachy, that just sounds so sarcastic, and I love sarcasm. But the cover, I don't know if you can see, but it's a woman on a float in the ocean. But this one says, a former actress in need of a reset reunites with her grandmother, her first crush, and the ladies of 10 Beach Road in this escapist novel. This one is going to be a book about women. It's going to be a book of starting over. USA blurbed this, and it says, if you are a sucker for plucky women who rise to the occasion, this is for you. And yes, I am. So I think I'm going to love that. Now, the next 3 books are fantasy books that I purchased, and they were straight... I was influenced. This is a case of FOMO. I'm one of these people, when I hear hype about the book, I immediately want to get it and read it. So that's why I bought these 3 books to try out eventually. The first one is The Wind Weaver by Julie Johnson. This is starting to make the rounds as being a really good book. It just says, magic and adventure swirl as a young woman reignites the embers of an ancient prophecy, unleashing a storm that could save her realm or doom them all. So this is a fantasy romance, and I love that there's no dust jacket. It's just a hardback book, and then the cover is just really beautiful. So there's that one. And then the other adult fantasy romance I bought is Shield of Sparrows by Daphne Perry. This is just gorgeous. I featured this book in my mid-year book tag, and this is just a gorgeous book. I don't know if you can see all this, but so pretty. I don't even know what this is about. I don't care. It says, if you're not terrified, you're doing it wrong. Sign me up. And then another one you guys probably have heard of, it's Silver Elite by Danny Francis. This is another book. It's gotten so much hype. Some people have said that it's not as good as what it's hyped up to be, but I want to read it anyway. It says, in the first book of a sizzling dystopian romance series, psychic gifts are a death sentence, and there are rules to survive. Trust no one, lie to everyone, and whatever you do, don't fall for your greatest enemy. So an enemies to lover fantasy romance. Yes, yes, please. And then another book I got is The Poppy Fields by Nikki Erlich. Nikki Erlich wrote The Measure. I have not read that one, but this one sounded like something I would really enjoy because it is about people who are grieving can go to this place, to this facility where they can sleep away their grief. And that sounds so interesting and so unique of a plot point that I wanted to read it. And then in the flap, it just reads, what if there was a cure for the brokenhearted? So that's this one. And I did get the special edition with the magenta sprayed edges. It has poppies on the end pages. And then there's little embossed poppies on the cover. So it is a very pretty book too. All right, the last 2 books I want to talk about are books that I have already read. They are new releases from my favorite authors. The first one is Taylor Jenkins Reid new book called Atmosphere, and I have already read this. It was really good. I'll go over it more in my wrap up, but this is about women in the space program, and it's set in the 1980s or in the early 80s. And I love that this is set in Houston. I'm from Houston. I live not far from Houston, and so there are references in here to places in Houston that I definitely recognize, so that was kind of cool. And then the last book that I have in this book haul is another book by one of my favorite authors that I did read, and that is With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. So this is a mystery thriller, but it's more of a locked room on a train whodunit type murder mystery. This is definitely kind of a retelling of Murder on the Orient Express, but I was also getting some Clue vibes. So if you like both of those, you might enjoy this, and it's very different from anything he's ever written. This is definitely a whodunit type cozy mystery, and I really enjoyed it. I know a lot of people have not liked it, but I definitely really enjoyed this one. It really scratched that itch for me with the whodunit mysteries, and I'll go into it more when I do my June reading wrap up video. I kind of feel like I'm, whoa, hopefully, is this gonna fall? Yeah, it's gonna fall. I'll hold it up. So these are all 28 books that I have purchased this past month. As I mentioned, I have read some of these, quite a few of these I've read. Some of these I got in the $5.99 sale at Book Outlet. And then some of these, quite a few of these I bought using gift cards and Barnes & Noble rewards. So I didn't spend too much money on these. And I have a lot of reading to do. I have a lot to get to, but I got some great new summary reads. Hopefully I can get to them this summer. I have some fantasy romance that I can hopefully get to this fall. But the good news is, when I was doing my mid-year book tag, one of the prompts was to go over the books that are coming out in this next half of the year that I'm looking forward to, and there really weren't any new releases that I just had to read. So I feel like that's a good thing, because I can maybe hold off on buying anything new and just focus on reading down my physical TBR, which I really need to do. I really need to stop buying books and focus on reading what I have. And I think the fact that there's nothing really new that I have to read and have to have, I can definitely realistically do that. I'm not going on a book buying ban. I don't do that, but my goal is to definitely maybe not do another book haul until the fall. Maybe in September, October, I'll do another one. But out of all these books, let me know if you have read any of these books and if there's any that you think I should maybe prioritize first. And yeah, this is my book haul. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.